Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 57 of Under Construction. I am your host, Ellis, otherwise known, of course, as Trainman, and today I want to put in a golden spike. I want to connect these two. I don't know what it's going to take. I'm not sure if it's possible today, but I want it to happen, so I'll be damned and we're going to make it happen. Yeehaw. Anyway. Maybe not. We're going to see what we can do, but I really hope that we can get these two attached. The first thing is figuring out where this tunnel is going to come out. So, I want to... Let's say I'm going to use a level tunnel. I'm just going to... Let's say... relatively level. Negative 0.05%. Negative, 20th of a percent. Where do we come out on this side? Somewhere over here. It's actually not too far away. Because that is pretty much level. So, we're also going to make that straight. Alright, so move that to like there-ish. It's actually, I guess it's kind of shallow. This side is fairly steep. How far into the mountain can I get before it's not a good idea? Oh, you know what? We just hit the divider. So I need to finish the terrain over here and then that. But this area, we know that that piece of track is going to be right here. So we're at least going to be building around that. And in fact, the first thing I think I'm going to do is turn up the radius, turn down the sensitivity, and start to smooth this area out a little bit. Because we have this edge here. Okay, I'm going to turn up the sensitivity, actually. Because we have this edge here, which is something that needs to be fixed, first of all. Before we can really do anything constructive, we need to patch up the bits that are not right. For those of you wondering, I have not worked on the AI since last episode. My free time has been taken up by playing Rainbow Six Siege, because for whatever reason I'm back into that game. I haven't even owned it that long. It went through a fairly short cycle with me where it was like, oh, I love it, I'm not going to play it. Oh, I love it again. But that's sort of what happens with those competitive games. Like the really competitive games, not like the Battlefield or the Halo, but that and like Rocket League and, the stuff where you're really depending on a couple of teammates or you're really depending on yourself or both. It's the kind of thing that can get you frustrated real quick, and, I try not to be a member of the toxic community, so, I'm not like spouting insults at my teammates or anything, but I can definitely get frustrated, and, you have to take a break sometimes. When it gets to be too much, it gets to be too much, and however you express that is how you express that. And there are good ways and there are bad ways to do that, but more important than anything else is that, if you want to continue enjoying the game, when you get to that point, you just take a breather, you maybe put the game down for a while, and you come back to it later. Because the fact of the matter is, when you're frustrated, you're going to keep making mistakes, and you're going to just get worse, and that's more evident in maybe Rocket League than, Rainbow Six, because in Rocket League you have absolutely, non-stop action pretty much with only a couple of seconds of break unless you're in between games. But in Siege it's definitely true as well. You won't be thinking, or you'll be rushing, or you'll be, or at the very least you will be susceptible to be getting more frustrated from something that would normally just sort of be insignificant. Now, we do have a couple of good comments this episode, which is nice. I always love to see the comments. And some chit-chat going on in the fan chat about this as well, and automation and root building in general, which I love. Automation, though, we talked about on the podcast this past week, which the podcast has changed up a little bit, and I can talk about that after I get through this spiel, but in case I forget their names when it comes, I have a comment from Evan Games, a comment from the RBMN Productions, which is Chris, a comment from Jacob Durbin, which is Jader, of course, and a comment from Ice the Blue Lion. So, Or Icer, as he wants me to call him, I suppose. But that's that. Those are our comments. But, okay, on the subject of the podcast, and I talked about this briefly on the podcast, but the thing is with the podcast, we're usually trying to keep it as succinct as possible in some cases, or in some ways. And on this show, it's, well, I gotta hit 2 hours, so what do I talk about? So I might as well talk about this. And so I already got one comment on there saying that the new thumbnail is confusing, and I understand. I glanced at it, and it's like, yeah, I can understand how you can get lost in this, especially if you were familiar with the old one, like in a significant way. So the thing is, I need to turn that down a little bit. The thing is, the reason that I made the new thumbnail, or I made the new thumbnail not because I wanted to. It's not the kind of thing where I was like, nah, you know what, I think we need a new thumbnail this time. And I just decided to make one. It is... So lately, people might notice that the podcast has been, skipped or delayed or whatever. Most of the time. It's sort of like the Cardinal. And I didn't really like that. I didn't like having to skip. I didn't like having to, push them by a week or whatever. And mostly because it was really impeding our ability to report on the stuff that we want to talk about. Because after 2 weeks, the amount of news is significant, and after 3 weeks, it's about too damn much. And after 4 weeks, like when I went away, it was, it was basically insurmountable. We were still talking about things that were posted while I was away on the most recent show. So, yeah. Less than ideal. Something I want to avoid. I want to keep the regular schedule producing the podcast on Saturday nights. Saturday nights also allow us to get a guest more easily because more people are around and nobody has to go to bed too early. I know, folks like me who have to get up early for work or people that have to get up early for school, especially now because we're heading back into the school year. It can really be a detriment to the ability to get on the podcast, especially if you're a first-timer. And so, in order to make that available, in order to make that more available, I wanted to keep it on Saturday nights, but also I wanted to be able to keep to the schedule too. The schedule was really the important thing to me. I'm not gonna lie. That's what was getting on my nerves and making me frustrated, and I couldn't exactly take a step back because that would have just made it worse. So I decided that something had to be done, and that something was in the form of getting a new rank of people on the show. These people are the firemen, and they include TJ, who was previously on the podcast as an engineer before we called them that, and TBA, who's been on the podcast a few times but hasn't been on in quite a while, and Chris, who is fairly regularly on the podcast. So, also Kevon is an honorable mention. He was up there, but sorry, Kevon, you haven't been around enough, if you happen to watch this, for me to really, yeah. I think Kevon would have been a great choice, but I don't think that it would have filled the gap that we needed filled. So, anyway, we went through the nominations. Each engineer effectively chose one person to be their fireman. That'd be TJ for Jader, TBA for Milky, and Chris for Weibold. I'm sure that, probably could have been guessed or, ascertained through the podcast. But for those of you who didn't watch or didn't really pay attention to that part, it was right at the end. I'm totally happy with explaining it again. And, that's just the way it is, I guess. And so, therefore, I had to make a new thumbnail, and a new intro is coming sooner or later. I need to get clips from people. I know some people in the podcast already want to have their clips updated, and so I'll be doing that. But, I think last time I updated the Terminus podcast thumbnail, we didn't even have, the Iron Horseman Chronicles didn't exist. Or, last time I updated the intro, I should say. Yeah, the Chronicles didn't exist. So, it's been a long time. And I think we're due for a new update, a re-edit of the intro. So yeah, but there's that. Anyway, yeah. So in order to do that, we got more people on. So now the main three, instead of having our 3 engineers, which we would have to sub out, we now have 3 engineers and 3 firemen, and any 3 of those, so any 3 out of those 6, are good enough for a full cast. You know, plus myself, of course. So that means that I could have a podcast with all firemen, I could have a podcast with 2 firemen and 1 engineer, or 1 engineer and 2 firemen, or all the engineers. You know, it really depends on who's available on a Saturday night. You know, and I wouldn't be surprised if we were in a podcast and one of the other cast members jumped in to say hello or to throw in some important piece of news, but they couldn't be around for the whole thing. I wouldn't necessarily be upset if that happened. In fact, I kind of expect it. But that's something for future. We're still working all this out. We're still figuring stuff out. Which, to compound the figuring stuff out, we also introduced Loco Royale in this you know, thing. So, and we're going to be using the Loco Royale format for all of the other things. Now, Passion of the Crackpots might be difficult to do, but Zombie Train Locomotive Versus will probably be using a Loco Royale format for it. It needs to be improved a little bit. Right now it's a little bit hectic and also at the same time kind of slow. And part of that has to do with, you know, I sort of have to collect data from everybody and organize it. So, I might make some fancy little spreadsheet doodad or something to go with it to make life easier for me and for the contestants. But, yeah. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. I might make a spreadsheet for it. That would probably help. Anyway, not like the current Locomotive Versus spreadsheet, but like one where the stats get punched in and it just shows who gets the most points. So, anyway, yeah, that's actually something I might do that. I might actually do that. That probably wouldn't be too difficult to accomplish either, and it'll save my life. Or well, it'll make my life a whole lot easier, that's for sure. Okay, so we're supposed to be at like the peak of the mountains here, but the stuff around here is not all that tall. I might want to make something taller. And also I turned the sensitivity kind of up above what I normally keep it at, just so I could get these mountains in. I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily worried about them looking perfect. I just sort of want them to be here. You know, at this point we've seen enough mountains that we don't need to dwell over every single one. This is not the centerpiece of the route. This is hardly even the centerpiece of a portion of the VMR. We're about to head out over the centerpiece when you leave, you know, sort of looking where the camera's going. And that's something to be awed about. The bridge, not these hills. These hills are just hills. Alright, so the other thing is I need to fix the lumpiness around here. But yeah, that's how the new stuff is going to work. We've got our firemen, you know, and we sort of kept that under wraps until it happened. You know, I didn't really talk about it ahead of time. I didn't really plan it so much until, you know, only a few days before that podcast was bound to come out. In fact, I think we inducted TJ, or he accepted his invitation the day of, maybe. Could have been. But then he wasn't on that episode. It doesn't really matter, but... Or, well, he was, but not in that capacity. The other thing is, an engineer supersedes a fireman, so if we have, you know, more people than we do have spots on the podcast, the engineer, or the fireman that correlates to that engineer will get tossed off. But they will be able to try and get on the podcast like everybody else. You know, anyway, just like TJ did. So it was it was basically a good test of the system. It really sort of put it through its paces and let me figure out, okay, where are the flaws, and also what works and what doesn't. Let me figure out what to do. And it's tough to make a decision like that, because, obviously, I mentioned Kevon already, but there were lots of people who were really good on the podcast and were, fairly frequent on the podcast, and at least I knew I could get in touch with them if I needed them. But I didn't want to inflate the cast as much as, I could have. I think expanding it just the way we did is fine. Again, as much as some other people have helped the podcast in the past, TJ has not been on it forever. We need to sort of get him up to speed. But other than that, I think it's going to work out fine. Yeah. The thing is, when we're running with a podcast crew that is extremely familiar, Jader, Milky, Weibold, they have been running the podcast with me for a really long time at this point, several years at this point, and they know how to roll from one subject to another, whereas even TJ, who was on the podcast at the beginning of its run, has a little bit tougher time with that. I don't mean to rag on anyone or single anyone out. I'm just making, observations based on what happened. TJ was waiting his turn, which is how things used to work. I don't think he's bad at it. I think he didn't know what he was supposed to do, and that's kind of my fault. But anyway, Chris is particularly good at it, and I told him after the podcast at one point that, hey, you're good at moving from one topic to another, and he said, yeah, I get it from car hosting. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's very interesting, actually. And sort of, that was in the back of my mind. I was not surprised at all that Weibold picked Chris to be his +1, I guess, his fireman. And there were plenty of other people mentioned, and plenty of people in the back of my head. But anyway, okay, we've got these hills over here. What are we gonna do with them? This, yeah, Icer, yeah. I sort of just want to add a taller range right here, but the thing is, I don't want to be stacking stuff right up against the edge of the baseboard, because we all know that ends up looking really bad from the other side. So, the thing I can do if worse comes to worse is actually drop the edge of this a little ways, in order to give the impression that these mountains are taller than they actually are, if you're looking at it from far away. Yeah, so the other thing I kind of want to do, alright, so let's do this. Let's turn the sensitivity up again, and just pull down this way. To extend these to the back without creating a steep drop-off, like we would using the plateau or we would using the use height tool. The other thing I would use for this is terrain tracks, but again, I've sort of sworn off them for a while. I felt like I was using them too much, and they can sort of be a pain. They can be time-consuming for not a lot of results. Honestly, I think now that they're only really good if you need to do something really specific, a slope that really points only in one very specific, very clear direction, and not anything else. Very, very gradual slope where this wouldn't do. Okay, this doesn't help anymore, so I can't zoom out and see it. But yeah, that's what's happening on the podcast. For those of you who are fans of the podcast, you'll know that you can talk with me directly on Skype, or, in the Terminus fan chat, which there's a link in the cargoes of every single podcast. Or, well, all the newer ones at least. Don't go back 100 episodes and try to find it. You'll be disappointed. But and if you have questions, comments, concerns, I always read my comments as well. So, if you want to say something there or say something here, even. because I will read and discuss on air, as you guys know. So, I appreciate all the comments this time, just to keep me away from talking politics. Anyway. Oh, we're so close with this. I'm so happy about it. I've been happy about quite a few things these past couple of days, which is funny, because a couple of things work-related have really got me down. I didn't hit a couple of deadlines that I would have liked. Have been slow. And, I had to deal with some rough tech issues that just got me frustrated. But that's neither here nor there. I'm doing my work. I'm doing what I can. Something happens when you get really deep in engineering. You learn just how much of it is close enough and guesswork. You know, everything's built to rigorous standards, of course, but the fact of the matter is, you are deciding how to achieve those standards. You know, and there's no guide booklet that tells you exactly how to do it. It just tells you what you have to have at the end of it. And it's really something else to be able to look at a problem and go, oh, we can solve this, like, however we want. Or to be in charge of something and to be like, yeah, but what do I do? And it's like, you get the results. That's what you do. And, yeah. You know, it's something else to have that. And to know that. And to, you know, and it's the realization that, yeah, they don't train me, they don't train you to be a mindless drone. They train you to be able to make educated decisions, and the decisions part is the kicker. You know, you have to make those decisions, which is something that it almost feels like you're not ever going to have to do, because in school the assignments are just set up for you, and, you know, it's very clear what you do to get the answer, if you're doing it right. If you're paying attention, it's very clear. If you're not paying attention, then you're lost, but there's a very clear path to the answer that you just can't see. Probably. Anyway, this side needs to be raised. So, anyway, I should get onto these comments, I think. Top comment. Oh, yes. Oh, I said ooh yes because I thought it was a show more button, but it turns out I clicked it earlier, and so it was a show less button. Oh well. Alright, well the first comment is Evan Games, and he says, yes, me and Evan Vlogs are the same person. Then why do you have two accounts? I'm curious. Oh, is this like your posting account and the other, or this is your commenting account and the other one's your posting account? Question mark. I mean, I have multiple accounts too, but I don't use the other ones. It's just me. Technically. I guess, if you include the Iron Horseman, I use two accounts. Not that I've posted anything on the Horseman in a while. I wish I could say I had, but you all know the way that goes. Anyway, Evan Games says, do you like the F7s? Like, in general, or my F7s? Because, yes and yes. For those who don't know, I have F7s. Oh, also, I need to replace these pieces of track, I think. Yeah. Thankfully, I didn't add anything really significant, just two pieces of track. There. Okay. Sorry, I needed to fix that when I realized. But check these things out. For people who haven't seen them, these were reskins done for me. I'm pretty sure Mason did them. For the Zion and Skyline. This an A and a B unit. It's a GN scheme that's been redone in these colors. I think it's pretty sharp. You know, I think maybe the red's a little bit too red, but all things considered, I think it's great. Okay, this is loud. It's on as low as I can get it. I'm serious. I'm sorry if it's a little loud for you guys. It's a little loud for me. I can turn it down however I want, but the fact of the matter is, it doesn't actually have any reflection on what you guys are hearing. But yes, I like F7s quite a lot. As a matter of fact, and I want to talk about this, probably going to talk about it on the podcast too. The Boston Surface Railroad, which is a commuter line which doesn't exist yet. It's near me. It plans to run from Providence to Worcester and then on to Nashua, New Hampshire. Purchased two of the, what are they? The FL9s? Is that what they are? Which, you know, look a whole lot like F7s. From ConDOT, from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, because they went up for auction. And it plans to use them for their commuter service, which now they're just missing coaches. They have trackage rights, they have engines. They just need coaches, I think, and I would be laughing if they borrowed the Providence and Worcester coach set to run their first commuter trains, because they were already, they've already like run excursions with them and stuff like that. You know, they've poured significant money into them, and they're making a deal with G&W for use of those tracks. So, and in fact, the headquarters of the Boston Surface Railroad are in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, inside the old Woonsocket, Rhode Island station, formerly owned by the Providence and Worcester Railroad way back when. And they purchased the building for use as their headquarters, and when the G&W executives showed up to make the deal, they showed up in the Providence and Worcester executive train, which I think is super cool. But anyway, I digress. Yes, I love them. I can't wait to see them running for real over here. Revenue service, where they belong, in a way. Again, these are FL9s, but they are very, very similar to F7s. So, yes, absolutely. But yeah, I'm going to talk about that on the podcast again, maybe in more detail, if we have more details by then. For now, it's just the knowledge that they own two of the FL9s now, not FP7s. Okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to raise this? I do. I want to make an imposing looking mountain over here. Not that I'm really going to be able to, given the space constraints and the fact that I don't want to raise the edge of the map very much, but I want to put something heftier than what we've got. In fact, part of me wants to make one really big peak. Okay, this is just screaming for a, well, why didn't you go this way? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fill this in. See, now I've laid the tracks before some of this terrain. I got too excited with the track laying, and I just figured, yeah, that way. But I probably could have gone this way. Of course, that leads me to inevitably make more tiles, which is something I don't want to be doing right now. I've got enough tiles to work on. And we're almost done with the tile-based work. Pretty soon, we're not going to be adding any new tiles, aside from, I guess, Mason Valley for a while. In the Boston Surface Railroad report, I think it was the BSR, they said they called the F7s, or the FL9s, the last of the streamliners. I'm not entirely sure if that's true. I mean, I guess I can see where they're coming from, but I'm not entirely sure if I agree. You know, maybe in the US, I guess. But even then. Okay, so I don't know. That's a good point. You know, maybe they are. Maybe I'm mistaken about when they were really built versus when all the other streamliners were built. But I feel like that isn't the case. I don't know. Then again, they were sort of built at the very tail end of real big passenger rail in the US. after that, you really saw this decline, and the only engines that were being purchased domestically at that point are, were freight engines. Second-gen Jeeps and GEs and stuff. U-boats and whatnot. So I guess I can see it. I see where they're coming from. There are definitely... See, it's funny. Where do you end the definition of a streamliner? Because the streamliner evokes the very old world sort of feeling, but I think, modern trains, like really modern trains, like the Acela, are definitely streamliners in their own right. They're just not the classical streamliner. They're high-speed trains. They're bullet trains. And I feel like, yeah, that falls under its own category, its own definition, but honestly, does it really? Does it make it not a streamliner? I mean, basically, streamliner is one that is streamlined, and those certainly are. But that's, then you get into a semantics argument where it's like, okay, streamliner as an adjective or streamliner as a specific group of, streamliner as in streamlined, or streamliner as in the specific group of trains which were the streamliners. I mean, personally, the streamliners don't matter so much to me as the steamliners do, which, streamlined steam is special in its own regard. Anybody can make a diesel body with a streamlined shell over it, or, a diesel with a streamlined shell over it. Not everyone can do that with a steam locomotive. Hence the fact that most railroads didn't bother. I'm disappointed about the SP3 breaking the map thing, because I really was liking looking at this developing on the map, but I think you can see it in driver mode. This needs to be filled in more. Alright, so come on now, let's go, let's go. This music is making me want to go fast. Like with my work. I mean, I make me want to go fast with my work. I want to get this, not over with, but I want to get it done. I want to see it done. You can almost run a train up over the bridge, and I ran one all the way up to the Y and turned it around, a couple of days ago. But there's nowhere for a train to go right now, so I don't have anything automated on this run. I'm gonna see about automating a helper. It's this song again. I think about these songs from time to time. Alright. I'm gonna raise this more to look a little bit more imposing in the background, because right now it looks kind of flat. Technique. This is really a song for, like, literal speaking. Tracks are all the way down here, okay. It's like they wanted to make a song, but they weren't really great lyricists, so they just wrote about literally what's going on in this song story. It's like it's designed so that it could be great, metaphorical, and stuff like that, but it's not at all. Oh well. Not everyone does that. Anyway, so here we are again. Okay, we're getting better. We're getting better. We're getting closer to a result. And in fact, I think I'm gonna do this, add a little bit of a spur to the hill right there. These should be a little bit more gradual, I think. I can't just keep piling on terrain because we know what happens when I do that. I end up with impassable landscapes. I don't want to build another tunnel, you know, this close to that one. And we're not going to be building anything like a railroad through the Swiss Alps. So I don't know. I might add another little something over here, like a little isolated farmhouse. Just in this depression here. In fact, I kind of wish I pushed this hill even farther back to make the depression larger. Trying to make sure none of these are hovering. That one is. Need to make it, you know, actually look right, actually be right, but... There we go. Alright, what's the next part of the question? Sorry, I got hung up on the first part. What's your favorite Amtrak locomotive? F40PH, there's no other answer to that question. I'm sorry. You say you like the SDP-40F? No, that's wrong. Our Lord F40PH guides us through our lives. We cannot turn our back on him. On her, actually. That's just the way it is. I don't make the rules. I just follow them. Also, to that end, and I know it's just a joke. It's a meme. Don't worry. I think they look. I think the if I'm thinking of what they are, the SDP-40Fs kind of look cool. To be fair, when Amtrak ran Fs and Es, then that was really cool. I definitely liked those. The GG1s too. Although really, I didn't like the Amtrak scheme for the GG1s. I thought it was okay, like the silver and, you know, whatever. The silver, red, and blue. I thought it was okay. I don't think it's great, or you know, I think it's okay. I like the black on them a lot better. I like Tuscan red on them, of course, but honestly, I think there's something to be said about an engine that's just black. If Penn Central got one thing right, it's that they stuck with the Stones mentality and just paint it black. Or maybe the Henry Ford mentality, depending on what era you're looking at. But, you know, that's just the way it is, I guess. Oh my god, wait. How did I not notice that before? We need to put a tile here. God damn it. I didn't notice that. Wow. Alright, let's fill in this edge like we do. NBH, new base height around here. I mean, I don't have anything against the P-42s. In fact, I like them. I like the look of them, at least. Never mind, I have plenty against the P-42s. They left me stranded in the desert. But, you know, on more than one occasion. But, you know, despite all the grief that they gave Madison and I on our trip, I think they've got something going for them. But, yeah, the F-40 really tops everything for me. You know, in a genuinely non-meme way, I think it really has owned the Amtrak scheme more than almost anything else. And almost lives with their image, too. Usually, in even promotional material that's current, that's contemporary, they use the silhouette of an F-40. I mean, they still use the cabbages from, you know, of that body. So, you know, they persevere, and they still use them on the exhibit train and everything. Amtrak knows that the F40 with the Phase 3 in particular is a not insignificant part of their image. And that's something else. That's significant. You know, the fact that they're self-aware enough to recognize that and then capitalize it by using it as their exhibit, you know, locomotive. And, you know, it may be boxy, it's kind of weird, kind of ugly, I guess, from a certain point of view, but really, I think it's a special kind of beautiful. I mean, then again, I love my boxy Volvos, so maybe I'm just attracted to that kind of thing, but, you know, my girlfriend doesn't look like she came out of Minecraft, so it's not all boxy things. Alright, I need to see if I can get this baseboard to a place where I can actually put a hill on it and make it not look terrible and not spend too much time on it. Because I don't want to get bogged down just doing this one tile when it's just a background tile, and honestly, I don't even really think there's anything I should put in it. You know, maybe a little bit of a rise, but it's just a connecting tile. It's just so that I don't get too close to the edge of the map. You know, it's not like I'm going to start doing detail out here. Really. Let's see, sensitivity is okay. That doesn't help. Again. Alright. So, crap, what was I thinking? Talking about boxy things, the F40PH, yes, F40PH in Phase 3. There's no substitute. I thankfully I got to, you know, ride in the cab of an F40 that was an MBTA engine years ago when I went to a Patriots game, because they run the train from Providence to Foxborough and somewhere else to Foxborough, Boston to Foxborough, because there's a station right out behind this stadium. And they'll sometimes run it for other special events as well. But the fact of the matter is, or well, you know, the point of the story is I got to ride in the cab of one. That was super cool. And, you know, sort of my, you know, all my life I've seen the MBTA ones. I never really saw the Amtrak ones in person. I've never really seen an Amtrak one in person. I've seen cabbages, but that's kind of it. Which is funny to think about, because I grew up on the Northeast Corridor, and by the time I was really old enough to care, the electrification was in place, and they were not running any diesel-powered trains up here except for the Lakeshore Limited, which went out of Boston, and I, you know, was too young to say, hey, I want to go to Boston to see this particular thing. I didn't care enough. And honestly, I think that my love for trains and my sort of understanding the nuances about trains has really grown many-fold in the years since I founded the Iron Horsemen. Not the Chronicles, just the group. Because coming into it, and I've mentioned this a little bit before, but coming into it, and I still am, just sort of a trained jack of all trades, absolutely master of none. I didn't know very much about any one thing, but I knew an okay amount about a lot of things, and I'd been exposed to a number of things just by my own sort of ramblings and looking around, and, you know, my parents being supportive of my hobby, etc. But I didn't have a lot of strong opinions. When I got my first steam engine for the Providence Northern Model Railroad Club, I just bought the steam engine that was available that at a reasonable price that I knew I wasn't going to have to do anything to, you know, Bachmann with sound, with DCC. I wasn't going to have to tear it apart and install a speaker and install a decoder and, you know, do all this stuff. And I still think like that. I don't usually go out and get an engine if it doesn't have everything that I want already in it, because, frankly, I ain't got time. I don't have time to go taking the engines apart and doing this, that, and the other thing. So, you know, I don't get that deep into the modeling thing. I don't do a lot of hands-on modeling. I don't get that deep into, you know, making sure all my equipment matches and this does that and that does that. And when I'm at the Model Railroad Club, I'm usually there to solve problems of my own creation. And I say that in a good way. I say that as in, I go there to create a sort of logic puzzle with the cars in the yard and figure out, okay, how do I do this? You know, switching is an exercise. Dispatching is an exercise. It's very cool, it's very interesting, but I do a lot of this stuff so that I can, you know, sort of play my own little mind games, not because I'm super invested in the trains themselves. And I definitely am invested. Like I said, I'm more invested than I was previously, but I feel like I am much less invested than many of my peers when it comes to this, you know, mostly the other people in the Horsemen, because they are a lot more into, you know, one or a handful of very specific things that they know a whole lot about. You know, I know more about my local area than I ever did, but there are people in my group that know way more about their local area than I feel like I could ever hope to know about mine. And it's just, that's the way it goes. You know, I'm okay with being someone who can connect with just about every rail fan on some level. You know, I you know, like to talk about, well, yeah, I'm a Steam guy, I pay attention to this, but that doesn't mean I don't like first-gen diesels, second-gen diesels, modern diesels. You know, that doesn't mean I don't like it. It may be difficult for me to tell the nuances, but then again, if you plopped a random Pacific in front of me without lettering on it, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you where it's from either, unless it's extremely recognizable, like a K4 or something else. You know, and I can't even... There are few Pacifics I can get an image of in my head that I would be able to recognize in real life if you just threw it in front of me. You know, maybe the B&M, the P4s, you know, 3713, that sort of thing. I'd be able to pick that one out of a crowd. But a B&A one, a New York Central one, I don't know about that. You're really pushing me here. You know, even the Southern, or not the Southern, the what is it? The big one, the big green one, the B&O one, right? The one that's at the museum. You know, if somebody put that down in front of me and said, "What railroad is this from?" I would probably say Southern because it's green. And that's the limit of my knowledge. I wouldn't be able to recognize that engine as that engine of that class just because I don't know enough about it. You know, I say all diesels look the same, but to the untrained eye, so do all steam engines. You know, you can count the number of wheels, but that's about as far as I'm going to get on an average day. And, you know, I tend to look into getting operations done a lot, but that's because the operations are my logic puzzle. I don't know that much. I just have a passing knowledge in places where it looks like it could go deeper. In my head, it just doesn't, though. And it's, you know, it's unfortunate in a way because that means that the deeper conversations are a lot of me sort of going, and taking in that information, but it's good on the other hand because it means that, you know, I have a foot in the door, I can relate to any other rail fan, and then I can happily take in information, just listen to the, you know, whatever they know. So, you know, there's pros and cons. So that's, you know, maybe that's part of why my ideal locomotive is the meme engine, but I don't think so. I think it just happens to be that I, you know, fell in love with that engine anyway. You know, I love it for the sake of the meme, too, but that's not the only reason, not by a long shot. Fill in that there. Yeah, this mountain's a little bit too bumpy. I was a little bit overzealous with my cursor when I built this one, I guess. But yeah, again, because it's the meme, I've been experimenting with and seeing if anybody calls me out on it. Literally just replacing F40, or, you know, putting F40 in the place of the word God in sentences or exclamations or whatever. Just because. Just why not? But yeah, I think I saw a picture of the SDP40s. Like it was on some website. It might have been on Train Porn or something. Which is reddit.com/r/trainporn. And yes, Reddit really likes putting porn after words to make them, like, you know, the identifier. It usually just means pictures of that thing. Train porn is pictures of trains. Steam porn is pictures of things that are steam powered. You know, machine porn is pictures of machines or gifs of machines or whatever. And I don't know. Reddit's weird. I'm weird too, but Reddit is weird. So, yeah, that's my life. That's my opinion on Amtrak locomotives. Also, the HHP8s were special, I guess. They broke down a lot, so I didn't really get to experience them. And I did like the toasters too, again, because it's just a box on wheels. Boxes on wheels are special to me, I guess. Again, Volvo guy right here. Old Volvo guy, so they are. Let me see. What's the next bit? Name the river Volga River. Nah, this one's not important enough for that. I've got a river in mind for Volga River, and it's going to be the one that the dam is going to be built at out on the VMR. So, good thought, but not this one. I'm keeping that name in my back pocket. I feel like with a map this big, you can't just blow your big names on relatively small things. Which, you know, this river is only going to be on the map for 10 miles or so, so not big enough. Okay. Kinda wish I could see that mountain over this one. Yeah, I don't actually like that. I'm gonna make that flatter. I'm gonna keep that flat. Okay, we're almost there, guys. We've got to do that side, and then we're good. Alright, we're 51 minutes in. RBMN Productions says, hashtag Nosum River, guys, let's fight to make it the Nosum River. And he got one thumbs up, so that's something. However, Jader says Scioto River, SCIOTO, and hashtag No Nosum River changed my mind. And he also got one updude. And guess what? I like Scioto River. But actually, I'm gonna give it a different. I'm gonna call it Shoto Bay. I like that. Shoto Bay. And technically it's not a bay, because it goes all the way up here. But that's what I'm going to call it. It actually reminds me of Tokyo Bay, which is an old submarine movie, which presumably is from just after World War II, which involves a sub-crew going into Tokyo Bay and doing some covert ops or whatever. That, you know, my dad loved it when I was a kid. He's always a big fan of old movies, and World War II flicks especially. But the thing that always got me about it is during the movie itself, I think somebody has to have like an appendectomy, an appendectomy. Sorry, words, I can't. An appendectomy performed while like at the bottom of the ocean in the submarine. So yeah, it was a big deal on impressionable young me. And that's why I didn't go into medicine. No, not really, not quite. Alright, and the map is not going to update. So I might as well just click through this and have it work, I guess. Alright, we're quite close though. We're, you know, 3/4 of a mile away. Alright, so let me do this. Let me get my airline ticket, or airport runway, no. Runway number. Runway number. Did I just place this or not? What is that? Oh, they're both down here. Oh, wait. Shoto Bay. Okay, I don't want to see that. There, gone. Shoto Bay. Technically the bay will extend all the way up there. Does it make sense? No, not really. Technically it's more of an inlet, I guess, but... Alright, here's what I'm going to do to fulfill my dreams of having a farm out here. Not real life dreams, but, you know. I'm going to sort of build the hills along the edge of this and leave this area as untouched as I can. So let's turn the sensitivity up a little bit more, because what I want to do is I want to sort of, again, skirt the edge here with this. And this is going to be a low spot, I guess, but the issue is I don't want to be able to see that from behind it. Or, you know, I don't want to see that from this angle. I don't want to see that behind it. I just want as much open-ish, flat-ish space as I can get my hands on right now. If I was really ambitious, I would add another tile, but I'm not going to do that. See, the thing is, it's going to look lackluster now, because there's not going to be enough hill on this side. That's generally okay, though. I think it's going to be okay. We've lumped it again. I'm going to try and make this not lumpy and still get the results that I want. Listen, if you don't get the results you want, you can always just use flex tape. But we've got one more comment and about an hour to deal with it. It's ISOs, of course, so it's nice and long. I like it. And we'll see what kind of tangents I end up on because of that. I already talked about my lack of knowledge in the podcast and getting a cab ride and streamliners. What are they? So... you know, we'll see what kind of tangents I end up on. I'm actually going to hill off this area here, because this area is already a little bit higher, just from the edge of where the plateau was, or the base height was. Okay. So, I'm really trying to not make this lumpy and still go quickly and have a decent, and have a relatively high sensitivity on. Oh, my hand is cramping up, though. That hasn't happened before. Actually, I haven't even had any water. Let's go. I guess I didn't talk that much today because my voice is doing okay for having, you know, talked for almost an hour. Also, that first 51 minutes flew by, and the last 7 were like... I can't believe it was only 7 minutes since I last checked the clock. But, you know, such is life. Anyway. I think over here we can get away with running a hill up right to the edge, because I don't think anything's going to be on this side. I don't plan for it, at least not for a pretty significant distance. So I think I can get better results than I originally had anticipated by just saying screw it and building up the edge. I also, like I said, need to prevent this from getting lumpy. I'm going to be using the plateau tool now. You know when you make something look bad and it's just like, oh, that's really bad. Like, that makes me physically ill. That just happened. I was like, oh god, no. I just made a serious lump. Looks like a, it's like the top of an ice cream cone. That's not what I want to see. Yeah, so I will build a fairly significant hill over here, because I want something to look at in this direction. The other thing I could do, like I said, is add another tile, and I could base height it to whatever the lowest height is on the edge of it, and then build a mountain on top of that. And that would probably go fairly quickly, and I would get the appearance that I'm looking for. It's just I'm not sure if it's worth the effort. Consider it. We'll look at it, we'll see, you know, maybe when we're all done here. Again, if anybody says anything, I'll go back and I'll, you know, definitely do it. But, you know, that's what you guys are here for in no small part. I know that this version of the map is yet to be released for quite some time. If you talk to me, I might give you a pre-release. I'm okay with that. I'm not exactly worried about it getting out there. It's just sort of a pain to package it up and put it up somewhere. Have, you know, workable links to it, etc., etc. Make sure everything on it is good. And so I only do that occasionally when people ask for it that are in my friend group. But, again, if you get in touch with me and you want to play around on this and you want to give me some criticisms or whatever, then, you know, by all means get in touch with me. I'd be more than happy to send you a CDP. And the wonderful thing about Tollbrand is the fact that everything is on the DLS. So, so it's not like I need to make a debt pack or I need to worry about, oh, is this payware? Oh, is this this? Oh, is this that? You know, it's all good. Oh, crap, I forgot. This week's supposed to be a... I just remembered I'm not supposed to be doing under construction right now. I'm supposed to be doing a route review. Well... is that right? I totally, because I thought about it all last week, and then it just flew over my head today. I was like, I gotta get home, I get to work on Tollbrand, you know, whatever. Yeah, this is a route review. Okay, so this is episode 274, actually, of the Zombie Train, and well, this is gonna be the same episode of that. I'll just have to do them the other way around. So I'm gonna have to explain to Jader that I won't be reviewing his route right away then. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow if I have time and then just post that one instead of this one, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think what's gonna happen is I'm gonna post this one, you know, up-number it for the Zombie Train, call it 274, and people are gonna go, where's 273? And I'll say, hold on. So, yeah, whoops. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry about that, Jader, especially, because I noticed you dropped your route down there. I noticed you dropped your route in the Horseman, or in the route build group, so that I could look at it, and I totally forgot. I got home, and I was, you know, one-track mind, totally focused on getting this done. I didn't even get to eat, but it's okay. It's fine, it's fine. I'm sure you guys will forgive me for putting out an episode of Under Construction early, and... okay, I'm gonna forget to do this. But I was literally about to go back on what I was saying. I'm sorry in advance if I totally forget to do this. But an apology for doing the things in the wrong order, I will put on my Google Drive with a link in the next episode, with a link in the description of the next Zombie Train, not the one that's coming out with this one, but the next one. A download for this. Because now that we've got a Y up here, I'm happy sharing it. Because I feel like there's something to run to, otherwise it was just a dead end. So, I guess I'll do that. I hope I don't forget. I really hope I don't forget. There's a non-zero chance that I will, because, like I said, I just forgot about the Zombie Train, or the route review instead of doing this. But I was hyped to come here. I'm sorry. I really wanted to get that section done. This is the Great Lump. Sir lumps a lot. And I think, okay, so I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to have like a road. Yeah, I will. Hold on. Let me get dirt road. Whoops. No, not that. Oh my god. Dirt road 1 lane. Wow, this is so old. Is this newer? That doesn't look really that much better. Dirt road 3. Dirt road 3? No. Gravel. Let's just see if we got a gravel road. This is cool. Oh, okay. I see. Hey, get rid of it. Okay. That looks bad. This looks fine. And it's got vehicles driving on it. I think I've already used this one in places. So, hopefully this is passable. This is not an asphalt road by any stretch. To the lowest point right there. We will work this out later, but I just wanted to have a road through here, which will cross the tracks actually over here and then proceed to head that way. This really is the road to nowhere now. I was actually going to send it over this originally. But can it get down the other side? No idea. I don't like the fact that it has cars on it, really. I think it would do better without cars. Also, I don't know if this gravel road is good. Let me pop open a content window and see. Manage content. Gravel road. Oh, come on, game. You can do it. So let's see when that shows up with anything. This ends with 477. Oh, gravel road. 477 is payware. Ooh, okay. Where the hell did I get this? And this, I think, is the one that's okay. Oh, this is just called gravel. We've used this before. This is the first one we looked at, huh? Well, I think we're gonna have to live with this one. But it's like, where's it going? I can't put a road over that. Almost definitely. It's just too steep. Well, that means we have to continue it over this. But where to? Over the pass, just the same. Okay, let's see. Okay, but how do we get down? Yeah, and then that way. That way works. Alright, so this way, I'm putting a whole lot of effort into this road that I didn't even plan on having exist. This is a real mountain trail right here. Alright, I am going to leave this off the edge, but it is worth pointing out that at the very edge of these maps, I'm not doing terrain work for a reason. So in fact, I'll just do that, because in reality it would just go that way. Okay, so let's straighten this out a little bit. Let's get some straight curve straight action going on, so that we can build a road for real. Alright, so we're going to need to add a couple spline points to this. Yeah. And I'm going to try to do my best to maintain sort of the weird curvature of the road without adding too much to it, but I do need to pay attention to the way the road is shaped. Like, I need to make it at least somewhat, you know, realistic or passable. Whoops, I don't need that extra spline point. That, this. And I think I'm going to call this Maroon Pass, because of the big red spot. Unless you guys... actually, I'm not going to call it anything yet. I'll wait till you guys give it a better name. Unless you like Maroon Pass, in which case, say so. And I'm not calling it Nosum Pass. There, I just wanted to make that clear before anybody said it. And by anybody, I mean Chris. Or whoever gave him the thumbs up, which might have been himself, for all I know. Anyway, there. Yeah, that's a really steep section. I could probably push that in closer to the cliff to get, you know, closer to over here to get it to be a little bit better. Yeah, it's a little bit better. And then once I'm done lining this all up, I'm going to come through with the advanced spline point tool, do a little bit of cutting and filling, call it a day. Haven't done a lot of straightening and curving. Alright, right there. This probably should be straightened. There. That. That. This is really just trying to follow sort of the contours of the area. When we put the track through, we'll have to figure out, okay, does this make sense? This turn here. It's a nice wide turn. Alright, there. There. Nope. Keep using the wrong tool for the job. Okay, well anyway, the terrain is done. We can connect the tracks now. I don't know why I'm hesitating in building a road. Tracks need to come first. So, make sure that I'm on the right layer again. I am. I don't want that. I want this. I don't want this either. Alright, so we need to figure out how to get down from here. Now this also should probably be a straight line. Which we're going to use the same tunnel spline as we've been using, which is the thingy. Okay, so that is not nearly tight enough up to the hill. This is also not tight enough up to the hill. Oh, we need to get rid of this. Wink. Okay. So how about like right here? Oops, right there. How deep is that? No, that's not going to be deep enough either. How about there? That is better. Oh, crud. We didn't do the thing. Hold on. 1 second. I need to do the thing that needs to be done first before we do any more. Turn these back into 5-meter grid. There. Yes. There. There and there. Alright, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4. That should be it. Alright. Now we continue. Okay, there we go. We got some good tunnel entrances now. Now we just need the tunnel itself, which is going to be a... crap, what is it called? A stupid loop. Wow, I'm blanking. Tehachapi. I know it started with a... No, I don't want Tonka. Although we should use that somewhere. No, stop! That's another bridge to use. Okay. Put this here. Figure out that I'm gonna need to move the entrance slightly in order to use the dig hole, which I should drop a couple dig holes in. Dig hole. Dig holes are not splines. Select the whole thing, will you please? Dig hole. Okay, we have a dig hole. I think the way to make this easier is actually to move this edge. This to there, and then to do that. Nope. No, 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 no. Bring this out to there. Alright. Smaller. There we go. Whoops. Other way. That corner needs to be down. This area in the front needs to go away. Come on, flatten it already. Come on. Come on, just get out of the way. Alright, there we go. And now we need to do the other end the same way. This one is almost better, but it's not going to be better once we add the dig hole. Dig. Okay, I need to actually... That looks realistic. That's how tunnels work in real life. I know, I've seen one or two. Alright, that way. There. Come on. Right there. Alright, so we got a tunnel. I'm happy about that. Now we just need to build the rest of the railroad. Unstraighten that. Alright, so it's like 2.77. That's a little bit too much. As we know, we had to get up to here. So, actually, let's do that while we're here. Put that there. This needs to be good. That's good enough. We'll put that there. Yeah. Oh, whoops. No, because these are actually, these pieces of track right here are actually too steep. So I need to apply I'm going to apply a 1.5% gradient to these two, because we're almost there and we get there right there. So that's good enough. This is sort of a spiral curve, but I guess we can live with it for now. I don't think it's going to end up being too tight in the end. Yeah, just overall, it's not very tight. And so, then the other issue is we just need to get up to the mouth of the tunnel, which, if I institute a negative 1.5% grade, we should not have a problem. We shouldn't have a problem doing it. Whoa. Okay, maybe I misspoke. Okay, no, we don't have a problem doing it. We have a problem doing it where I laid the track, which is right in the middle of the valley. I thought we were going to be much lower, but the edge here is actually... Yeah, it's there. That's kind of what the issue is. So what I want to do, instead of doing that, is sort of skirt the edge here. Let's just delete this track for the moment. And what we'll do is I will grab the track and we'll continue working with this 1.5. Actually, we'll work with a 1% downgrade so that we don't end up doing too much crazy. Let's move that to there. Let's make sure we don't cross any party lines doing this, so to speak. Talk about, you know, talk about politics again. I admittedly had reservations about posting last episode. I hope it didn't, you know, offend anyone, but really I just hope it didn't make anyone unhappy in general, you know. It's not the offense that I'm worried about. It's the, well, now I pissed somebody off because of this opinion that I have. You know, they may disagree with me and they're not saying anything. And, you know, whatever. That's what really gets me. Anyway. Let's see if I put a piece of track there. What does it look like? 4%! Holy macaroni! Okay, let's go down to 1.5 then. Okay, yeah, that's the flat one right there. The thing is, we dig into this hill here. Like, I'm trying to cross this area with as little terrain modification as possible, but it just keeps coming up. Also, there's one other thing that we're missing here, and it's a big pipe. And the reason I say that is because if we look at this area that I just made, it's all lower than where these tracks are leaving. And the tracks are, whoops, oh, hold on. The tracks are situated at the lowest exit. So, the conclusion there is, well, that means water must have been sitting in this basin and flowed out through this area, and then we built a cut there because we couldn't get up the hill enough. So what does that mean in the end? Well, it means that there's got to be something that pipes the water out of here as it collects in here, or else the tracks would just continually flood. So, got to build a pump station of some kind. That's probably why they couldn't lay here originally. Although following the edge wouldn't have been as difficult, but once you get over there and you end up a lot higher than you originally were, well, that's where things get interesting. Okay, so we've got to move this road, and I'm going to get to the last comment now. Ice of the Blue Lion, so are you enjoying the hot weather too? Yeah, no. I'm wishing for snow already too now, he says. So any more Sunday driving planned? Yes, this weekend. If you had a route and model layout, would you use it to do and Sunday driving, or what would you rather have, a really big fiction or real life route to use for Sunday driving? What? If you had a route or a model layout, would you use it to do and Sunday driving, or would you rather have a really big fiction or real life route to use for Sunday driving? Oh, like, would I rather use a trains layout or a model railroad layout? I mean, I'd rather use a trains layout because, I mean, A, I'm more versed with that, and B, Sunday driving now is like okay, we're going to automate this show. Is it a good idea to automate this? With Tolbrin, the answer is always no, but I'm doing it anyway. But, yeah, okay, so that looks not half bad. Skirt around that mountain there. I mean, honestly, this shouldn't follow this here. It should go like that. Somebody play Infinite Power again. How do you get like the tokens that you use? Do you accumulate them or do you buy them? If you buy them, then I don't feel like doing it, but if sitting in this live stream chat slowly gives me tokens to make, to ask for songs with, I'm gonna put on Infinite Power so much. Like an infinite amount of times, one might even assert. Anyway. I'd rather have a trains layout because then we can all look at it and... Game, don't freak out on me right now, game. Please, seriously. I know, it's more versatile. I can do more things with it. I can throw stuff down. And also, if I were doing Sunday driving with a real model railroad, also if I'm misunderstanding the question, just please, you know, write it and rephrase it. But if I was doing it with a real model railroad, there'd be problems with like, where do I put the camera? Although it would be really cool if I had one of those camera cars where I could just drive it around. I've seen people with those at the PN, and we have an old, like, over 10 years old, I think, video of the current PN layout. Again, old, because, you know, the scenery is way out of date. We've got so much more, and in fact, we installed the very last turnout just the other day on the Providence Northern Model Railroad. So, there's that. But, you know, where do I mean, I don't know. To begin with, I don't have room for such a thing. But, just well, where would I put the camera aspect? Nah, I wouldn't want to do it on a real-life layout. But that said, if I could get everyone, you know, if I could get a bunch of the horsemen in the same place, then I would gladly do it. You know, like we did the podcast from Train Mountain and all. That was really just a, like, okay, this is circumstance, we can get away with this, let's frickin' do it. So, yeah, that's that. But, sorry if I didn't, like, answer the question. I'm still not totally certain what you were asking. That's my fault sometimes. We might end up removing this road later, because of reasons like there's a farm. This is the only part of the road I'm going to do this to. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm going to come back across it and do that again with all the other parts. Yeah, this is pretty steep. Okay, so sorry, I'm concentrating on this right now, which this shouldn't take a whole lot of brain power, but right now, for whatever reason, it is. Oh well, 'tis a shame. Alright, there. I really wish this road's, like, width that it would balance out. The area was not as wide. Okay, so around this corner, and then over the summit here, tentatively named Maroon Pass. Alright, so we got that area. Let's get that spot. Yeah, if we put something here, then I'm probably going to do something else with it. But I might just build a very, very small community around the road. Like, you know, a couple of buildings. This one can actually have some freight service. And some abandoned buildings that were probably left over from building the tunnel and the railway, and the pump house, of course, that needs to be there. So what do you know? We've got trackage all the way to the bridge now. Alright, what's the next part of the question? Oh, well, I didn't talk about how much I hate warm weather some more. Because I do. I walk out of my office. You know, I go into my office at about 8:20 or so. If the train's on time, I'm in Boston at 8:20. I'm in my office at 8:20. And, you know, that's not half bad. You know, I get there, you know, we're sort of on the level with a lot of people. So, I'm there. And I get there at a time when things are pretty mild out. There isn't a whole lot of sun. You know, even now in the summer, coming into Boston at 8 a.m. is like, the city's probably covered in fog, or, you know, a mist or something, or at the very least it's cool. You've got the ocean right there. It's hard to keep that city real hot. But never fails, when I walk out of it at the end of the day, 8 hours later, Oh my god, it's like getting punched in the face. It is just insane. And God, it's crazy. It's too hot. It's too hot everywhere. Just get a big fat ice cube, like in Futurama. Get the ice from the comet and put it in the ocean and call it a day. I would love that. Elon Musk, please work on this. But no. In all seriousness, it's why is this bit so much wider than the other bit? Yeah, no, I want, like, snow. If not snow, just something. Just some sort of respite from the heat. It's like every day it's so warm. And then here's the part where the universe is playing with me. I get cold on the commuter rail because they crank the AC. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It beats the alternative. But it's like I have to bring a jacket just for my commute to work. And I'm actually going to add a crossover right here. Yeah, so we won't have that go into the cut. Okay. So there, you can get to the bridge now. Awesome. Alright, what was the rest of the question? But I would rather have this route to use for Sunday driving, all things considered. I like this route, I'm invested in it, I know the things about it, and more importantly, it gives me an opportunity to playtest the route that I don't usually have otherwise, or, as I've talked about, to automate the route. Which is something, is an endeavor that I've embarked on. Anyway. Recently got TrainStim back after I lost it, but the best part, I was able to get the link to download it again for free. Awesome. So now I can learn about DEM and maybe start working on the DCR, and after that, there'll be an DLC of the same route plus more trackage. The era and of what it'll be, well, that'll be a surprise for when I get it done. Well, good luck. I'll give a hint, as there was Steam, but I can't say where or what kind was used. Cool. It'll be a lot of work, more than of the modern route. Also, did you put me into this route just wondering, and what do you think people would donate to your new computer fund so you can keep making content for us to watch? Oh my god. Well, okay. First of all, I need to find a way to put... Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. I need to name this building. Icer House. There we go. I've done what I always wanted to do. There's a cat here. But... Oh crap, what was the part that I was going to respond to? Oh yeah, new computer fund, or a computer fund. Here's the thing, man. I am not... I'm not super duper worried about the computer. Yes, it will probably experience some issues. I might, one of the hard drives might fail. It might just straight up go out on me. But it's not like I don't have, it's not like I don't have money to work on it if there was an emergency. But right now I really can't justify spending the money for upgrades when, I only sort of need them. I need them mostly for this, and I don't spend all that much time on my computer. Well, I finished this and now I'm not even sure what to do. I'm like, okay, good, we did it, now what? Well, we've got to build track in this direction. Not very far, just to like right there. But no, I don't need to create a new computer fund, although I very much appreciate the gesture or the idea or the thought. But that's great. A computer fund. No, but maybe at some point I'll need that, but right now, you know, I have a full-time job. It's just tough to justify the cost of spending all that money on new computer parts when I've got something that runs, you know, at a better... It runs better than anything else that I've ever owned. So, oh, why wouldn't they just go over this way? This way. Alright, so we're gonna add some hill here. Just close this access point. Yeah. And to begin with, and I've thought about it, I've sort of tossed around the idea, but to begin with, I'm not sure I would know where to begin with just everything. Oh, you know what? Chris gave me a great idea, and I need to put it in here. And it's called the Bristol Cutoff. And it's to connect this with this more directly. Well, explicitly this right here. And yeah, it was a good thought, just to avoid the curve. You know, this would be one of the VMR's attempts to do something good about its situation. Which I might even make a tunnel right there. Alright, but what... Okay, hold on. First question. What is the gradient from here to there? In the straight line, as the curve flies? It is 2%. That is easily doable. Okay. So Bristol curve is basically useless. Shh, don't tell past me that. Or present me, for that matter. Alright, so I'm gonna see if I can go down at a rate of 1%. Actually, after there. Alright, this 126.63. Now, I wanted to know what this one was. 129.17 or 126.17. So how about 126.30? I don't know what's this gradient here. Actually, is that 1%? Yeah, it is. Okay, never mind. This is all fine. It's all fine. So, obviously, we aren't going to make the, we aren't going to make it doing 1.5%, or, you know, we aren't going to make it doing 1% when I need 2, but it should get us in the right area. And the VMR being the VMR is still trying to avoid cutting into this rock sort of as much as possible. But this would go over here, this would go over here. What am I doing? Oh. Alright, but this needs to start going up at, you know, 1% or so. Okay. Okay. So this is not gradient set up yet, but I will. And in fact, I'm going to go with the 1.5, which I feel like the 1.5 is actually a better estimate of what we're going to need. Although maybe 1.7 is a good estimate. You know, because I don't think we're going to save that much. Or even something more extreme like 1.9. I'll do negative 1.8 for this, actually. Because I don't think we're going to be saving all that much. The thing is, though, we have to rebuild it. Because shifting around spline points isn't going to do what I need it to do. So, oh, that's that. So that can go there. This is going to be a straight section. And this is not going to be functional. Just for those of you questioning. This is going to be a cutoff that's under construction. And I'm probably going to be setting up some multiple industries so that you can deliver construction supplies to it. For example, ties are being manufactured in Olive. Although I may have them go to a central location and then to here. Across the way. We're going to need a good-sized bridge there. Yeah, also this crosses into this thing, which I can't go into without adding another tile, so that means the drop-off point is probably going to be right there, and also right there. The question is, okay, well, how much of it do I want to have done, quote-unquote, when the route's taking place? I mean, this should surprise nobody with all that I've talked about with the dam and whatnot, but the VMR at this point in time is historically on a pretty good-sized construction kick because they really scaled back during the Depression, and since then it's, you know, things have sort of started falling apart underneath them, and they want to grip the reins a little bit harder. They want to be able to build stuff. Okay, that's a negative. Nope. Just I want that spot right there. There we go. I actually had to hold shift for that. Alright, so I need to make this look not terrible, and also make it perform well. So that looks good enough, I think. I think that looks good enough. It might look better, or it might look better or worse when I uncover it. That might do it. That might do it. It's a game between, okay, turn radius too tight, versus, well, versus too much cut, or whatever. That's a 3%er. Okay, so we definitely need closer to the 2%. So I'm going to go with a 1.9 for this. And we're going to stick with the basic alignment that we have right now because it's not too far off, and I feel like I left enough in there to... There. There. There, no. Alright, so we need straight 2 then. -2. The other thing I want is to not really start it until here, I guess. We're gonna need some serious retaining walls on this one. Alright, yeah, there we go. We've got 2% all the way through. And that, you know, this is 1%, that's 2%. This is how much distance you can save by switching to Geico. Whoops. We already had that like that. Alright, so the other thing is, so we need to be able to like run this. Oh, I've only got 10 minutes, let me finish this. Oh yeah, also do you have the bug? Oh yeah, you already saw that. I do have that bug. It's kind of frustrating because I like looking at the stuff in map mode, but that being said, I don't think it actually whoops, I need to go this way. I don't think it actually... I think it works in driver. I think it might be working fine in driver. This is why 5 meter grid is good. You know what they say, grid, for a lack of a better word, is good. No, I don't know what that's from. Alright, so I need something that's like a retaining wall for these tracks over here, because I can't have them hovering, but I also can't have these guys underground. Let's see, can I just get embankment? Embankment. Embankment grass. No, I don't want grass. 4 meters gray ballast. Well, it'll help it look a little bit better. Probably won't look great, but it'll help it look a little bit better. Alright, so this is going to be straightened. The one at the other end is also going to be straightened for the sake of control. Alright. I don't actually want to be able to see the splines at this end. They should be just... No, yeah. Just underneath the track itself. Yeah, and that one is already too tall still. Alright, and straighten this end. Yeah, this doesn't look great, but it's what we're gonna have to live with. Spline height, come on. I want this to be underneath the ballast there. That's still hovering. I need this to be moved more to the outside. Same thing with this end, more to the outside. Alright, not half bad. Okay, and again, the question is, how much of this do we want to be able to build? And so I can build, and I can have built up to... Oops, can't do that. Up to... Come on now, show me the change. Up to right about here. Now, here's where I'd like to do a retaining wall again. Yeah, because look at that. We're pulled away from the cliff. Probably because the contingency plan was, okay, we want to fit 2 tracks here eventually. And so I want a retaining wall again. But how about we just look one up? Okay, they seem to understand what we want. So this is the same thing that we've been using. I don't think it's bad, actually. You guys can tell me if you like it or not, but I might just use it for the sake of, like, I think it looks good and it'd be a really simple solution for us, knowing that we can already use this. Oops. What? Oh well. That's right, these vertexes are kind of weird with what their height displays as. You know, and we would not have thing. We wouldn't have stuff. Wouldn't have track on this yet. Probably. At least the VMR wouldn't at this point in time. But yeah, this is... The no-sum cutoff is much better. You know, it's a very good idea. No, I'm not serious about calling it that before anyone gets their hopes up. Well, okay. How much time do we have left for me to continue brainstorming on this? I mean, this end is going to be done. This is easy. Whoops. If you're in the right menu. And this was supposed to be retaining walled completely. So. And in fact it was, and we just sort of undid that. So I'm not happy about what I accidentally just did. Grumble, 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 grumble. Train man here. Alright, well, that's that. How far can we go over here? Up to there? Wow, we can get really far. As even the marking for where I was going to put the river originally. Right there. So we can build right up to there with track. And then that's pretty balanced in the cut. This is also pretty balanced. This one's the deepest cut, but even that doesn't look half bad. And then we've got a bridge. And I think I'm going to leave this terrain work mostly done. I'm pretty happy with the terrain work. The only thing is I might move the track over to redo this here. Or I might just push the edge of it down a little bit. But I would love to put this into service, but we need another tile over here. Which, that's not really rocket surgery, but it is kind of close to that. You know, I'll leave it so that if you really want to, you can you know what I'll do? I'll leave invisible track. I'll make it invisible track, so that if you really want to run a train over the cutoff, you can. It'll just be hovering over the spot where the bridge is supposed to be. Which we've got 2 minutes to make that a reality. All right, we'll do that. I'll deal with that later. We'll do... Straighten that out. Nope, straighten this out. There. And then knowing what I'm going to want. RTK. Yep, I don't even know what, I don't know what bridge I would put here, but I know it's going to be, or I know it would be RTK. That's for sure. The Castleton is a relatively new bridge by VMR standards. Yeah, I don't have to deal with the fact that this bridge is on such a friggin' angle. Let's just see, what would we do here? Could we get by with one, whoops. Could we get by with one span? Almost. That looks kind of stretched out. But 2 spans might do it. Or maybe 3 with an underdeck. Or, this. Whoops. Yeah, underslung truss. 3 spans of underslung would do it. Although, if we're doing a 2-track, then I could definitely get away with one Parker span. We really don't need that, though. You know, we could get away with a 2-track Castleton, a 2-track Warren, or even a 2-track Under Deck if we had one, but we don't. You know, it's just, you know, the valley here is not that deep. We can put down this other bridge. Yeah, the big thing is going to be getting the terrain here to cooperate. But yeah, this is so doable, and it actually doesn't look half bad. I'm glad we have Bristol Curve, but this looks pretty damn good if I'm gonna be honest. And again, if they were designing it for 2 tracks and they just laid the one through it or something like that, you know, I don't know. In fact, yeah, you know what? Let me, what's with the 5 meter? That's not right because it's spawning on the wrong one. If only I could center those. I'll just leave it as a. I'll just leave it as one track abutments. And that means I would. Oh, there isn't actually room down here to do it. Let's see. Yeah, right here. Probably a little staging yard there. Something. Anyway, we've gone a little bit long. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Trainman out.